Hello, welcome back to another trip report. Today we are flying from Bangkok to Los Angeles on Cathay Pacific and United Airlines, and we are actually doing a one-night stop in Hong Kong. So here's kind of the first leg from Bangkok to Hong Kong on Cathay Pacific. Here we are at Suvarnabhumi Airport at the main terminal where they house all of the check-in areas. Today, since we were flying on Cathay Pacific, we headed over to row S, where we had a somewhat of a complicated check-in due to making them make sure that the bag gets deposited at Hong Kong so we could have it at our hotel room for the night. Nonetheless, having getting it all sorted out, the staff was very helpful. We were issued our boarding passes as well as making sure that the baggage tag was checked only to Hong Kong. So after walking around and seeing the different aisles that can house all the airlines that fly here to Bangkok, I must admit, this is a very large main terminal compared to other airports. And granted, Suvarnabhumi Airport is actually relatively new, built within the last 30 years. We then headed over to the departures area since we're on an international flight. We followed the directions to head over to security as well as passport control. My first impressions of the main terminal is that it's quite nice, pretty standard. You see these kind of main terminals across multiple airports around the world. Notably, this kind of reminded me of Tokyo Narita's a little bit. But nonetheless, we headed over to passport control. Thailand is transferring to kind of not issuing exit stamps, but they did have a few kiosks open. So if you are looking for those stamps, I still recommend that you get it. I got that. And so I know they had about 3 or 4 different rows where you could still get physical stamps. Nonetheless, after exiting passport control as well as security, you are deposited into the main part of the airport. I wanted to do some plane spotting and walking along multiple of the concourses, so that's what I did. We had kind of your usual assortment of boutique and or luxury stores here, things that you see across the world. I was most interested in airplanes as always, getting a view of a lot of Thai Airways International planes along with other international airlines. You can see that Emirates A380 in the background, as well as that Austrian Airlines 777 and this Thai Airways A330 in front of us. My impressions of the airport were actually a little bit underwhelming. There are a lot nicer airports within Asia, and I was surprised that that Bangkok's was like this. We saw a very nice Singapore Airlines Silvercrest Lounge, which was then very conveniently followed up by the Singapore Airlines 787-10 that was pushing back here at Bangkok to start its 2-hour flight down to Singapore. And then eventually we headed kind of towards the eastern part of the airport, or actually the western part of the airport, where our Cathay Pacific flight was. And I got kind of these various shots of the ramps here. So looking at the ramp/tarmac to the north, where our gate will eventually be, we had a nice shot of a Malaysia Airlines 737 as well as an ANA 787. And then here is a takeoff of a EVA Air 777-300ER beginning its flight to Taipei. So this was kind of a shot of runway 20 left. And after the 777 takes off, you are conveniently given a beautiful shot of these Qatar Airways A380s that are lined up at the ramp kind of facing south. So we had 2 Qatar Airways A380-800s just sitting here, presumably being prepared back for their flights to Doha later in the evening. And it was just really cool to see 2 Qatar Airways A380s lined up right next to each other, not being in Doha. But then further down, kind of on the southern part of the concourse, I saw this nice Finnair A330 that had just arrived from Helsinki. As I headed to our gate G2, I just wanted to give you guys a shot of kind of what the terminal does look like. It is this kind of cylindrical structure, and the windows are all curved, so not making it conducive to plane spotting, unfortunately. Like I just mentioned, we were at gate G2 on CX704 to Hong Kong. Our plane had just landed. and she's this beautiful A330-300, and you can kind of see we're facing west, so we have that beautiful evening light here. This is at roughly 5:45, 6 o'clock. So today, our A330, her registration number is very convenient. It is Bravo Lima Alpha X-ray, so BLAX, and it makes a lot of sense considering that we are flying back to Los Angeles. So enjoy kind of these next shots of our A330. I got some as close-up of a shot as it could get considering the window situation here at Bangkok. So after boarding commenced, I made my way down to seat 68K. This is on the right side of the plane towards the back. Nobody was sitting next to me. It's a 242 configuration on the A330-300. Like our flight down to Bangkok on an A330, adequate standard legroom, perfectly fine for a 2-hour flight. Love the cup holder that we have there on the back of the tray, as well as the foldable tray. And then you guys saw the entertainment screen that I had showed in the previous video. Again, pretty standard, and granted, these A330s are all in Cathay kind of intra-Asia configurations. So then we eventually taxied over to runway 20 left to begin our takeoff to Bangkok. And I apologize for the lighting. It was not very conducive at all for getting kind of a nice clear shot. So about an hour to hour 20 after takeoff, Cathay came around with their meal service. Today they had two options. I got the pork with noodles, which was excellent. It also came with a bread roll as well as fruit. They also gave us a Haagen-Dazs ice cream, which was very good. And then they came around with coffee or tea and other beverages. Like my previous video, they have metal cutlery as well as a nice towelette. So all in all, excellent meal, especially for just a short two to 2.5 hour flight. And then here is the cup. I love just kind of the branding that Cathay has. During the flight, I just got up, got a little shot of the cabin here for you all to see the nice 242 layout. And then eventually we were over Hainan and kind of approaching Hong Kong. It looks like we had about an hour left according to the video screen there in your shot. But as we were approaching Hong Kong, we were treated to beautiful light. Granted, this is around 10:30, 11 p.m., so it's not natural lighting. This is just what is emitted from Hong Kong, so very pretty. And then we were treated to beautiful views of all the ships in the harbor. And then eventually we landed here in Hong Kong. So after a few turns, we lined up and landed on runway 07 left, and then had a very, very long taxi to our gate. I want to thank you guys all for watching this video. This is part one of my video from Bangkok back to LAX. So stay tuned for part two, which will be on United Airlines. Thank you very much, and please like, comment, and subscribe, and give me any suggestions of things that you'd love to see in future videos. Thank you so much.